I said that there's going to be two scenarios. I said that the Info-X is either going to be completely dominated by mostly one civ, or is going to be completely divided. And it is completely divided. And the one piece of information that I will give you that I think that you guys deserve to know, because technically someone that was willing to, it'd be very difficult to, but someone that was willing to should be able to kind of count the cities and see how many each civ has. Right now, Rome and Mongolia are actually tied. I don't know if you guys, maybe you guys were able to tell that. Maybe it was just me. It looks like Mongolia, I know that Mongolia has a few colonies scattered all over the place. I don't know why. I didn't think they were tied, though. I thought Rome was absolutely dominating the game in terms of, cities. But they both are at 24 cities right now. Then it's Russia at 17 and Ethiopia at 15. And that is counting the new colony here. So, yeah, it's like I said in the intro, it's very divided. And that's going to make things really, really hard. That is going to make things extremely difficult to choose, I guess. What I think I might do, well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm still trying to figure this out. Still very much trying to figure this out. It's turned 5:30. We probably have 2 more videos left in the campaign. Like I said, I have been skipping over a few, like 2 turns during the break so that I can get to at least do 10 turns every so often. Here's the thing, though, is that Rome has more settlers. There is 1 just south of Carthage, and I did count 2 more, at least in continental Europe. I don't know. There's 3, actually. Oh my gosh. There's 3 in continental Europe. I might be even missing 1 or 2. There's 1 in North Africa, so there's 4. But them being at war with Mali means that they cannot go through Mali territory, and Portugal is not giving up their open borders anymore. So they need to get open borders through England, but for some reason, Rome doesn't want to colonize North America. They're not interested in that. Portugal going to slap down a city. Good for them. A city that's they really need that. That's pretty good for them. Rome is only willing to settle in South America, or I guess Central America, but there's nothing else left. Technically, I guess they could go for the Caribbean. That wouldn't be a terrible idea. But I don't know. Make a proposal? No. Embargo, yes. We have the embargo of Austria, and yes, okay, that's fine. That's coming up next, I guess. So again, Rome, they're losing units. Mali is not going down without a fight. Obviously, Mali will for sure lose this war if they don't get their stuff together. Did a unit just disappear? Did you guys see that? I thought I just saw a unit disappear, but I can't tell if that's the crack or if that's a game, if that was a glitch. Happens to me way too often. Rome has several more units still coming to reinforce from North Africa. There isn't really much coming from continental Europe, though. If Mali can survive this small round, not really small, if they can survive this force, the Roman North African force, then that would be it. However, if Rome is able to somehow maybe cut through Mali like a knife in butter, if they were able to cut through, grab these cities, and if they have a one-way track to South America, they will win this game, surely. I could guarantee you I could progress to another 600 or another 500 turns, not 500 turns, 50 turns to get to turn 600 by the end of this campaign. I guarantee you Rome would have like another 4, 5, 6 colonies, because that's what they've desperately needed this entire time, is just a safe route to the New World, which they have not been able to get. And I guess that's been the same somewhat story for Mongolia. Mongolia has no safe route. They used to, but without any open borders between Japan, Champa, or Tibet, which I don't know why they haven't just gone after Tibet. Busan is not a puppet. They annexed this city, which was formerly Korean, so they should have destroyed this Tibet city a long time ago. The Boer are going after the Zulu. In the beginning of that campaign, this would have been an interesting war, but this is not interesting anymore. The Boer did send over a small force to attack Mali, but nothing has come of that. I don't think we're going to see our Russian-Mongolian war, and it makes sense. I looked in the Info-X. Honestly, their military is just too close. I mean, we saw it at turn 525. Every single 25 turns, the game is going to show us a category, and it's going to reveal some sort of piece of information. We saw military. We saw people with the pointy sticks, and both of these two powers, they're just way too similar in numbers. They're not going to go to war with each other. They're too similar in numbers. It doesn't make any sense why they would go to war with each other. Usually an AI tries to be efficient. They don't want to go to war with another equally great power, especially since, Mongolia doesn't really need to worry about the Philippines, but they are. As an AI, they slightly are because of the Philippines and their technology bonus and the wonders that they control and stuff like that. Russia has the same thing to threat. It's actually a more realized threat since Rome is here in Berlin, and Berlin and Warsaw are just a few tiles away from each other. But nonetheless, there's just no reason why these two would go to war. It doesn't make any sense. The only way I could see it happening is if Russia declared war on Rome. Russia lost a lot of units. They'd probably end up taking Berlin, but then Mongolia would probably attack from the east and roll them over. That never ended up happening. It was, for the most part, it's been a stalemate. None of the four great powers were weak enough. Well, Ethiopia technically is. I think... that's actually a pretty tough call to say that. There were a few of the categories that I was looking into where I realized, this is where the Ethiopian strength is coming from. They're by far, not really by far, but they do have the least amount of cities, England going after the Zulu, compared to the entire world. But there are certain categories where they really dominate. They really dominate, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, that makes sense. So England is going to go after the Zulu. The Zulu somehow have infantry units. Pretty cool there. I mean, I guess for the most part, technology isn't having that much of an impact on the campaign anymore. Something to keep in mind, though, the Philippines, I believe, have access to nuclear missiles. They probably haven't built any yet. Yeah, they just have an atomic bomb. There we go. I've been talking about that war for a long time. And Elizabeth has had a fleet near the Japanese mainland for also a very long time. Elizabeth is probably going to lose everything here, though. Guided missile inside of this nuclear submarine. Don't know what the Zulu are planning here, but we'll see. I wonder if Portugal's also going to go to war with Japan. That was a war declared by the Japanese. Did the Japanese also have a fleet near the British Isles? No. They usually do, but they don't in this case. Yeah, they don't in this case. July 2066, the campaign, I think, is on par to end at 2075, I believe. Byzantium and the Zulu have peaced out. Japan and Byzantium have peaced out. Technically, England could have moderate success against the Zulu. For the Zulu, this is their home. For England, it's not. And England already has had a few units destroyed, actually quite a few units destroyed, I should say, by Sweden. Still waiting for Portugal to make their decision. And I believe next turn we will finally start to see Rome attacking their first Mali city. Ooh, Indonesia also going to war with England. Okay, so wait a second. Those are two Asian nations going to war with Elizabeth. Could we see this start to load up? Could we see more civs decide to say, yes, we're going to go to war with Elizabeth? Especially as they continue to lose units in the Atlantic. It's definitely feasible that we might see Portugal even go to war, which I think could be likely. Portugal doesn't have as big of a fleet in the Atlantic as I figured. Most of their powerful fleet is actually in the Mediterranean, which makes me think, maybe we will see a Portuguese-Roman war at some point. Especially if Portugal has someone to go to war with Rome with. You know what I mean? If Portugal has Russia to go to war with. You know what? That's what I haven't checked on. Let's go ahead and check on friendships. I know it's really late in the campaign to be checking in on this, but the world kind of hates each other, and there's only a handful of nations left. I do think it'd be interesting to see, at least in terms of the great powers, the four great powers, who's friends with who. I should have checked that, honestly, a long time ago. Even though a coalition war is very unlikely at this stage in the game, it still is interesting. It's still an interesting possibility. There are several settlers. This settler is going to get taken. We've got two settlers here, another one in the Mediterranean. They're going to continue to try to send units to Latin America, or I should say settlers to Latin America, but it is not... They have yet to have any success in that. Ethiopia still is yet to choose what they want to do. They have this massive fleet down here that they haven't done anything with. Oh, maybe they are going for Mali. or maybe England. Yeah, I don't exactly know. Ah, man, Mali is really giving Rome a tough time. They are really giving Rome a tough time. They're continuing to pump out units, which is making things obviously really difficult for them. They're standing in the way. I figured this was going to be a super easy city for Rome to take, but it has absolutely not been at all. Whoa, look at all these planes just jetting by. Holy crap, they're going very fast. Is this from Portugal? Is that what we're seeing? Bombers move back and forth? They're not necessarily bombers. We have Champa building the Manhattan Project. Come on, let's give it up for the Champa. Can we give it up for the Champa? How awesome has it been that they ended up surviving? Between Korea and the Philippines, as well as now Mongolia and the Philippines, Indonesia, I mean, they survived. Especially with this city out this way. Like, how does one do that? Got to give it to the AI there. Good job. They didn't necessarily... I mean, no one declared war on them, so maybe they shouldn't be given that much credit. But I'm just saying. Okay, global politics. Let's go ahead and check on this. I don't care about some of these minor nations. I do see that there are small declarations of friendships. Who's friends with Persia? Japan, Indonesia, the Zulu. Okay, so the smaller nations are going to team up. That seems likely. So Rome is teaming up with the Philippines. That's interesting. And then we have the Boer. Rome is also teaming up with. That's interesting as well, especially because that's a smart pickup for Augustus to have to kind of contrast Ethiopia and their power. So Ethiopia would essentially kind of have to fight two different fronts there, which would make things really difficult. Very smart move by Augustus. Let's check on Russia. Russia has no friends. They've just been denounced by everybody. And is that because they've gone down? They've been down in order. They just don't have any friends. Probably because they took out all of Korea. We have Mongolia friends with Mali. So this is kind of connecting things. It's kind of making things make much more sense. There are these kind of minor, a little bit more minor civs who are still powerful, like Portugal, Mali, and the Boer. It's because they're friends with some of these great powers, and I'm sure they're doing research agreements, and I'm sure they're trading luxuries, and that's probably why these smaller proximity countries are doing so well, like Mali, like the Boer, because the Boer came out of nowhere. Who's the last one? Ethiopia has no friends. So Ethiopia and Russia have no friends. It's Rome and Mongolia that do. Portugal is friends with the Philippines, which is kind of a big deal. And that is it. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely really glad that I checked in on that. That really kind of makes a lot of sense. It's also interesting that both of those nations are from Africa. We've got the Boer and Mali. And I'm wondering if it's because the AI felt the threat that Ethiopia had no competition in the continent of Africa. Honestly, Ethiopia should have won this game. I mean, I guess we could make arguments that, you know, there were several nations. What is this little interesting landform? Oh, that's Lake Victoria. Honestly, we could probably make arguments that all the civs should have won the game, but Ethiopia, I thought, had the biggest chance. They really let the Boer gain too much strength. Same thing for Mali. I guess they could be going to war with Mali at this point right now. But they've decided against it, and maybe that was for the right reason. Clearly, even Rome is having difficulty attacking Mali. I mean, Rome doesn't have the biggest military in the world, but it's still surprising to see that even them, you know, they can still struggle. They can still struggle against some of these nations. Rome obviously would clearly win the campaign if they were able to take over all of Mali, but I don't think they're going to be able to do that in 15 turns. It's possible, but it's unlikely, especially with the amount of units that they're sending over. They're not really sending over much. It's clear to me that the Roman units stationed by this city is just there for a defense against a possible Ethiopian attack. We might yet see the Ethiopians from Mecca attack the final Babylonian city. It looks like we might see that as we approach the Red Sea and see more units coming out of the Red Sea and onto the Arabian Peninsula. Persia ended up surviving and being a pretty cool force, I thought, in the Middle East. I thought Persia did exactly kind of what I asked for. I wish they were a little bit more powerful. That would have been awesome to see them also take over maybe the Ottoman territory. Obviously, at that point, I believe Austria had already destroyed the Ottomans, but I can't recall exactly off the top of my head. This region remained a mess. It never ended up uniting. I still blame the Himalayas. And I do believe that I'm going to destroy, or I'm sorry, not destroy. I do believe that I will play without any mountains at all in the next campaign. I don't like And that's part of it. That's another small trick. Oh my gosh, look what's going on here. That's another small trick that I've learned. AIs cannot play with mountains. They don't know mountains. They're terrible at them. Indonesia going after somebody. But those are a lot of submarines. I don't know exactly who that's for. Yeah, no, I'll probably even... Because I kept the Himalayas there out of the entire old world. Because I just felt, they're the biggest mountains. I think that they deserve to stay there. No mountains. No mountains at all. That also, I don't want anyone to get an advantage through an observatory. We're destroying mountains. Mountains will become hills. And that is what we're going to do for the next campaign, because it makes things so much more exciting. It means that, like, there are some civs, and I've said this before in the past, in the European modded campaign, there are some civs, like, I can't remember off the top of my head, that because they have mountains, they will never be taken over, and I just don't think that's fair. And I think it's more fun to see everyone have a fair advantage. And I'm going to have to destroy a lot of mountains here in South America, because there are several mountains in South and North America, I guess I should say. Did anybody ever send over another settler? I don't think they did. No one else sent over a settler. Still England and Japan going at it in the Atlantic. Turn 536. And Rome, I don't think, is going to get the job done. Mali has really stood up to the big bad bully. I mean, I don't know if Rome is a bully, but I mean, kind of. They've been pretty aggressive. I don't know if I can really shape a story from this campaign. I'd love to kind of imagine some sort of a story in the campaign, but I just don't think that I can. I don't know. I mean, all the great powers have had their moments of kind of evilness. The Boer and the Philippines have peaced out with Mali, so Mali now has 100% control to defend against Rome. Turn 536. We have Ethiopia embarked to sneak attack somebody. Now, where are they going, though? There are a lot of submarines. The only one I can think of is Mali, though. The only one's the Ethiopia, I think, or I guess England. I mean, there have been a lot of nations that have shown that their displeasure in England. Hubble Space Telescope's been built by Russia. That's, I think, 2 free great scientists, I think. As well as they can build, like, spaceship parts and stuff like that. But, that's not really a big deal there. Here come the settlers, but they continue to get taken over by Mali because Rome is being dumb. And it's going to make this series even more harder to choose. Because there will be no clear winner, I don't think, in terms of who has the most cities. I think there's got to be somebody with the most amount of capitals. And I'll probably check that over the break as we approach the final video in the series. We have Indonesia there. Indonesia, did you end up using that huge fleet in the Pacific? You didn't. No. You did not. All right, well, anyways, guys, I'm going to stop right there. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys for the final 10 turns in the final... I guess, well, we'll see. I'll see you guys in the final 10 turns.